enjoy this reading. As Greg already said, there's no sense, and many of you are repeats from last night. There's no sense in retreading a lot, but let's just say we know that a lot of the world has changed. One of the few good things that's come out of this, though, is the fact that we've gone a lot more digital. And now we can bring readers from all over theoretically all over the English-speaking world, as well as viewers, whereas you don't have to come to Manhattan to participate this year, and perhaps in the future we'll look at hybrid models. But because of that, zooming in tonight, we have participants from California, Oregon, Arizona, Texas, Michigan, and we're very excited to get to hear their voices. They represent the best in LGBTQ literature published last year, and we're thrilled to share those voices with you. Before we start the program, I want to acknowledge a few important people. Carol Rosenfeld, who's the chair of the Publishing Triangle Steering Committee. Trent Duffy, who's chair of the Publishing Triangle Awards Committee, also our treasurer. And Stephen Greco, who's the executive director of the Farrar Grumley Awards. It's important to point out the Publishing Triangle exists with all volunteer work. We are the people who I've just mentioned, and a few others are the ones that are actually sealing envelopes, putting stamps on, and preparing bulletins, all for no compensation. And so I just want to emphasize this is a volunteer effort, because one of the things I want to stress as we move into housekeeping is I'd encourage you to join the Publishing Triangle as a member. It's $40 a year for dues, pretty inexpensive, and it helps us. We don't want it for ourselves, but it helps us support LGBTQ literature. So visit publishingtriangle.org for more information. Number 2, buy books, support your independent bookstores, especially like the Bureau of General Services Queer Division. The indies are the booksellers who are hand selling our work, so be there for them. And finally, remember that tomorrow, starting at roughly noon, we will, that's Eastern Daylight Time, by the way, we'll be announcing the winners of our 7 competitive awards. So please join us on our website, Twitter, and Facebook as we roll out the winners over the course of 20-25 minutes and celebrate, again, the best of LGBTQ+ literature in 2020. And now let's move on to our program. And our first reader tonight is Ellen Bass. Indigo by Ellen Bass is a finalist for the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry. The book was published by Copper Canyon Press. In this collection, Ellen merges elegy and praise poem in an exploration of life's complexities. Whether a subject is oysters, high heels, a pork chop, a beloved dog, or a wife's return to health, Bass pulls readers in with exquisite immediacy. In praising Indigo, the New York Times wrote, Bass's work about marriage, parenting, illness, and recovery, small daily pleasures, cultivates an exuberance it's born of and balanced by close watchfulness. Booklist also weighed in, calling it a bold and passionate new collection. Intimacy is rarely conveyed as gracefully as in Bass's lustrous poems. Now, from Oregon, please welcome Ellen Bass. Ellen.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm in foggy Santa Cruz, actually, but I wish it were Oregon. I'd love to be visiting up there right now. I'm so happy to be with you all. Thank you all who make this possible, all the work that goes into it. And I am so honored to be reading with so many of you whose work I just love and admire more than I can say. So thanks for being here. The small country. Unique, I think, is the Scottish turtle, that hesitation, when introducing someone whose name you've forgotten? And what could capture cafuné, the Brazilian Portuguese way to say, running your fingers tenderly through someone's hair? Is there a term in any tongue for choosing to be happy? And where is speech for the block of ice we pack in the sawdust of our hearts? What appellation approaches the smell of apricots thickening the air when you boil jam in early summer? What words reach the way I touched you last night, as though I had never known a woman, an explorer, wholly curious to discover each particular fold and hollow, without guide, not even the mirror of my own body. Last night you told me you liked my eyebrows. You said you never really noticed them before. What is the word that fuses this freshness with the pity of having missed it? And how even touch itself cannot mean the same to both of us, even in this small country of our bed, even in this language with only 2 native speakers. Indigo. As I'm walking on West Cliff Drive, a man runs toward me, pushing one of those jogging strollers with shock absorbers so the baby can keep sleeping, which this baby is. I can just get a glimpse of its almost translucent eyelids. The father is young, a jungle of indigo and carnelian tattooed from knuckle to jaw, leafy vines and blossoms, saints and symbols. Thick wooden plugs pierce his lobes, and his sunglasses testify to the radiance haloed around him. I'm so jealous, as I often am. It's a kind of obsession. I want him to have been my child's father. I want to have married a man who wanted to be in a body, who wanted to live in it so much that he marked it up like a book, underlining, highlighting, writing in the margins, I was here. Not like my dead ex-husband, who was always fighting against the flesh, who sat for hours on his zafu chanting Om, and then went out and broke his hand punching the car. I imagine when this galloping man gets home, he's going to want to have sex with his wife, who slept in late, and then he'll eat barbecued ribs and let the baby teethe on a bone while he drinks a dark beer. I can't stop wishing my daughter had had a father like that. I can't stop wishing I'd had that life. Oh, I know, it's a miracle to have a life, any life at all. It took 8 years for my parents to conceive me. First there was the war, and then just waiting. And my mother's bones so narrow, she had to be slit and I airlifted. That anyone is born, each precarious success, from sperm and egg to zygote, embryo, infant, is a wonder. And here I am, alive, almost 70 years, and nothing has killed me. Not the car I totaled running a stop sign, or the spirochete that screwed into my blood. Not the tree that fell in the forest exactly where I was standing, my best friend shoving me backward, so I fell on my ass as it crashed. I'm alive. And I gave birth to a child, so she didn't get a father who'd sling her onto his shoulder, and so much else she didn't get. I've cried most of my life over that. And now there's everything that we can't talk about. We love, but cannot take too much of each other. Yet she is the one who, when I asked her to kill me if I no longer had my mind, we were on our way into Ross shopping for dresses. That's something she likes, and they all look adorable on her. She's the only one who didn't hesitate or refuse or waver or flinch. As we strode across the parking lot, she said, "Okay, but when's the cutoff? That's what I need to know." Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Our next reader is a finalist for the Randy Shilts Award for Gay Nonfiction. Dr. Eric Cervini is the author of The Deviant's War, The Homosexual versus the United States of America, published by FSG. And he's joining us today, in his case, from Los Angeles. United States Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin, an out lesbian, as you know, is just one of the many voices praising the Deviant's War, writing, "The Deviant's War is a compelling work that should be on the reading list for everyone who cares about the quest for full civil rights for all Americans." In his book, Eric recounts gay rights pioneer Franklin Kameni's long fight against the government's anti-gay politics and policy. Our Randy Shilts Award panel of judges said, "The book examines the rise of the homophile movement on the East Coast as Kameni and allies like Barbara Giddings formulated key concepts, marched, and agitated. Eric Cervini presents this fascinating story in a compelling way, making the Deviant's War history at its best." Welcome, Dr. Eric Cervini.
Thank you so much, Rob and Greg, for having me. Once again, it's great to be back virtually at the Bureau, and hopefully I'll be able to come soon in person. And thank you to everyone at Publishing Triangle for this incredible honor to be alongside so many wonderful writers who I look up to so much. So thank you again. I'll be reading rather an abridged version of the Stonewall Riots, since we're only a few weeks out from Pride Month. And even though I think most of us probably know this story, it never gets old for me. And reminding myself what the true origins of Pride and Pride Month really are. Officers then brought out another patron whom they had identified as a woman wearing cropped hair, male clothes, and handcuffs. One witness noticed a black leather suit. "She put up a struggle," reported the Village Voice. "Twice this patron escaped from the police car before getting caught. After the second time, an officer grabbed and violently threw the patron into the car. Someone shouted, 'Why don't you guys do something?' It was at that moment," reported the Voice, "that the scene became explosive. Limp wrists were forgotten. Beer cans and bottles were heaved at the windows, and a rain of coins descended on the cops. With cries of police brutality, pigs, and faggot cops, the insurrection began. The officers retreated backward and bolted the door of the bar. The mob used an uprooted parking meter as a battering ram. The door swung open, and an officer was hit by a flying object. The police grabbed a man from the crowd, dragged him into the bar, and beat him mercilessly. A voice reporter was trapped inside the bar with the officers. The sound filtering in doesn't suggest dancing faggots anymore," he later wrote. "It sounds like a powerful rage bent on vendetta." The window shattered. The officers, certain that the mob would storm the bar, pointed their guns outside. "We'll shoot the first motherfucker that comes through the door," said one of them. Outside, calls of, "Let's get some gas." An arm poured lighter fluid into the room, then threw a match. A whoosh of flames. The officers prepared to shoot, and a massacre seemed imminent. Suddenly, the sound of sirens. Fire trucks arrived, followed by 2 buses of riot police. The officers escaped, and the reinforcements turned their hoses and clubs onto the crowds. For several hours, trans women, drag queens, and street youth, the hustlers who worked the piers on 42nd Street, fought and taunted the riot police. Facing the helmeted officers, the street youth sang, "We are the Stonewall Girls," chained in a chorus line, kicking their heels. Nightsticks swung at heads and backs. The rioters ran, but the officers ran faster. Witnesses saw young men, covered in blood, dragged into police cars. Craig Rodwell, the young veteran of Randy Wicker's first New York picket, yelled, "Gay power," while watching from a stoop. The next evening, Saturday, the crowds grew larger. They blocked the street. Flames rose from trash cans, rioters threw bottles, and windows broke. One Black trans woman, Marsha P. Johnson, miraculously climbed a lamppost in high heels in a tight-fitting dress. She dropped a bag full of bricks onto a police car below, shattering its windshield. The riot police arrived again, and the street youths reprised their taunts and chorus lines. By 3:30 a.m., the crowds dispersed. On Sunday afternoon, a sign appeared on the Stonewall's window. "We homosexuals plead with our people to please maintain peaceful and quiet conduct on the streets of the village." Signed, the Mattachine. The crowds, though smaller and less violent, still returned that night. Officers scattered them in a single sweep, but the Stonewall stayed open, playing rock and roll. The poet Allen Ginsberg, a veteran of the Mattachine of New York's first picket, entered the Stonewall and danced there. "You know, the guys there were so beautiful," he said upon leaving. They've lost that wounded look that fags all had 10 years ago. That night, Stonewall veteran Yvonne Ritter stayed in Brooklyn. She had been avoiding the village, lying low after taking the subway home Saturday morning. As she graduated from high school that week, an image, a feeling, remained imprinted in her mind. After she escaped the police van full of drag queens and blended into the angry crowd, makeup streaking down her face, she too picked something off the ground, maybe a brick or a piece of glass, she does not know, and threw it in anger and defiance and pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Can't wait to read that book. Post-Colonial Love Poem by Natalie Diaz is a finalist for the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry. This book is published by Grey Wolf Press, and tonight, or in her case, this afternoon, Natalie is joining us from her homelands in Mojave Valley, Arizona. The New York Times Book Review wrote of post-colonial love poem, Diaz's collection is no doubt one of the most important poetry releases in years, one to applaud for its considerable demonstration of skill, its resistance to dominant perspectives, and its light wrought of desire. And in Literary Hub, John Freeman writes, this is a breakthrough. This is a breakthrough collection. In a world where nothing feels so conservative as a love poem, Diaz takes the form and smashes it to smithereens, building something all her own. A kind of love poem that can allow history and culture and the anguish of ancestors to flow through and around the poet as she addresses her beloved. And now, Natalie Diaz, reading from Post-Colonial Love Poem. Natalie.
Gracias for having me. Gracias, Rob and Greg and Carol and Trent and the whole team for all of your work. I'm grateful for it. And Greg, also your space has been so important. So I appreciate all of the work. I'm just going to read one poem. I have really bad internet. I'm out on the res. And I think it's probably because some of my cousins work for the telecoms company, so I'm blaming them for my poor internet. If I happen to fall off, I'll come back on, but I'm just going to read the one poem. This poem, it has a Hortense Spillers, it kind of reorganizes a Hortense Spillers quote. It has a song line reorganized from Nice and Smooth, and then there's another reorganized line from Etel Adnan. I say reorganized, it's, yeah, just kind of a mixture. Like church. My lover comes to me like darkfall, long and through my open window. Mullion, transom, a good window lets the outside participate. I keep time on the hematite clocks of her shoulders, and I've done so much of it, time. Her right hip bone is a searchlight sweeping me, finds me. I've only ever escaped through her body. What if we stopped saying whiteness so it meant anything? For example, if you mean milk of magnesia, say milk of magnesia, or snow, or they've hurt another one of us, or the quarter moon is smoke atop the dirty water, or the purling damp she laces up my throat, my face, mi caracol. They think brown people fuck better when we are sad, like horses or coyotes, all hoof or howl, all mouth clamped down and the hair on the neck slicked with latherin. You ask, who is they? Even though you know. You want me to name names, shoot, we're named after them. You think my creator had ever heard of the word Natalie? When he first made me, he called me snake, then promised the afterlife would be reversed. South, turn north, fool with tight, bright melons. Pluck one melon and another melon grows in its place. But it's hard, isn't it? Not to perform what they say about our sadness when we are always so sad. It is real work to not perform a fable. Ask the turtle, ask the hare. Remind yourself and your friends, sometimes I feel fast, sometimes I am so slow, sometimes I get put down in the street. Always I win the wound they hang on my chest. Remind yourself, your friends, they are only light because we are dark. If we didn't exist, it wouldn't be long before they had to invent us, like the light switch. Yes, our creator says kingdom and we come. Remind our friends we fuck like we church best and full of God and joy and sins and sweet upside down cake. And when they ask what's in your love's eyes, I tell them wild sugar melons, green on green on green. She and I, we eat the melons, starting at their thick syruped hearts, hold the beady seeds in our mouths like new eyes, wait for them to leap open and see us first. And gracias for letting me share my evening with you all and your work.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And an excerpt from Post-Colonial Love Poems was posted on our Facebook page a week or two ago. And the comments that we got, it really resonated. So I really appreciate you being here tonight. Everyone's, by the way, I'm not everybody's, you're all getting great comments, okay? But I need to introduce a few people, someone, sorry, I was a little break. I just happened to notice that Sue Landers is here from the the executive director of the Lambda Literary Foundation. I want to welcome her. So welcome, Sue. And their awards are coming up in a few weeks, so watch for them too. I should also mention before we go on in the programming, on our website, publishingtriangle.org, beyond finding information about how you can become a member, we also have links, we also have videos and links to YouTube versions, if it's easier for you, of our non-competitive award winners. And I didn't mention them last night, but I'll mention tonight. And check out these videos. Cheryl Clark is our winner of the Bill Whitehead Award for Lifetime Achievement. Robert Fieseler is the winner of the Betty Birdsall Emerging Writer Award. And William Johnson, who formerly of Lambda Literary is the winner of our Leadership Award. And so we're very excited about those people. And again, thank you. Welcome, Sue, and congratulations to the winners of the non-competitive categories. Moving on back to our readers. John Birdsall's book, The Man Who Ate Too Much, The Life of James Beard, was published by W.W. Norton and is a finalist for the Randy Shilts Award for Gay Nonfiction. Regarding this book, our panel of judges said, "This wonderful biography is a feast for the senses, enveloping the reader in sights, sounds, and especially the smells of food. In the process, we learn so much about the Oregon-born James Beard, his talents, eccentricities, and foibles. Biographer John Birdsall keeps us aware of Beard's loneliness, his always falling short of where he'd hoped to be, and his often contentious relationships with publishers and his usually uncredited collaborators. This portrait of the 20th century gourmand is a real page turner." And the New York Times said, "John Birdsall is not a polite biographer, and I say that with admiration. Birdsall gets to what's often missing from the cheerful narrative of James Beard, shading in the face sketched on medals and vintage book covers." Please welcome John Birdsall.
Hi, thank you very much. I also am really honored to be here and to be reading an excerpt from my biography of James Beard with you all tonight. The thing that fascinated me about James Beard is that, you know, from about 1950 until the mid-1980s when he died, he was one of the most famous and recognizable people in the United States. And at the same time, he had a very complicated private life that he needed to conceal. And that duality is what my reading tonight is about, an excerpt from a chapter that looks at James Beard's famous cooking classes. This one is from 1966, which he conducted in his townhouse in the village on West 10th. "I'm hungry," James Beard delivered his line suddenly in a deep roar, and it electrified the class. In late winter 1966, the writer John Scow, on assignment from the Saturday Evening Post, shadowed James. He observed him at a wine tasting at the Four Seasons, paid a visit to West 10th Street one morning for an interview, and sat in on a class of the James Beard Cooking School. James's classes had captured the imagination of Manhattan's professional class and captured male business executives who dabbled in cooking as a relaxing hobby away from the boardroom, and their wives under pressure to host dinner parties for their husbands' clients. Saying you'd learned the fondue oriental or strawberry sorbet recipe from one of those expensive classes at Jim Beard's down in the village gave your dinner party a sense of sparkle. Since the untimely death in January 1966 of Henri Soulet, owner of Le Pavillon, many knowledgeable restaurateurs, Scow wrote, looked to James as the nation's ranking food expert and as a personality with wide appeal. In a decade of teaching, James had honed his classes until they wheeled along like immersive theater. His roar, "I'm hungry," was the dramatic catalyst, the gunshot in Act 1 that marked the real start of the play. Nobody but James Beard could pull that off. The course ran for 6 evenings and cost $135, about $1,000 today. 8 or 10 people, about half of them men, had gathered in Beard's living room the night I visited, Scow wrote. James would time his appearance for maximum effect. Scow cataloged the students, all of them affluent enough to afford the steep tuition, 2 export-import men, a CBS executive, a husband and wife who'd driven in from Connecticut. James walked downstairs into the salon in a green striped butcher's apron over his dress shirt and bow tie, and with crisp authority took charge. The pupils listened, Scow wrote, in attitudes of respect seldom seen in these days of student protest. James described the dishes they'd cooked that night and took questions. Yes, one could buy a good copper omelet pan at a shop he knew in the village. The students, Scow said, yelped in excitement. The dinner they'd sit down to after the class, James pointed out, the dishes they'd cook in the class would probably be cold by the time they got to him. But he stated with conviction that almost everything in the world of food is actually better cold. The students diligently took notes. Who could argue with James Beard? That there were so many men in James's classes echoed a shift in the cultural life of the United States. Turning out the perfect rolled omelet had become a power leisure activity for executives. James would tell Business Week in 1970 that the audience for his classes were the great army of people who cook as a creative pursuit, just as there are people who paint in their days off. 6 months before Scow spent his evening on West 10th Street, Nika Hazelton had noted the change in the New York Times. Today, she wrote, the average man's wish to be called a gourmet belongs with our quest for civilized living. For Hazelton, this new passion marked the neutering of the American male. I don't know why healthy, able-bodied men should want so badly to fix small, delicious morsels, she wrote. Is gourmet cooking a form of transvestitism nowadays? Part of the same compulsion that makes women wear pants? Since society still frowns on men in skirts, though not in aprons. With an arch flourish, Hazelton gestured at New York's open secret, that the city's gourmet male establishment, James Beard, Craig Claiborne, the concert pianist turned cooking teacher Michael Field, was a ring of fags. Once the students of the James Beard Cooking School departed for the evening and there were no reporters to entertain, Hazelton knew that the man at the very top of New York's gourmet bachelor brotherhood behaved in ways that would have revolted readers of the Saturday Evening Post. Once after a class on West 10th, James shared an unexpected confidence with a student. Alfred Rosenthal had revealed he was president of a company that produced needlecraft kits, open weave canvas printed with a pattern, packaged with the yarns needed to embroider it. After class one night, James took Rosenthal aside and told him he had a secret. When the other students were gone, James led him upstairs to his bedroom, where James had his collection. More than a dozen pillows James had designed and stitched himself. Most of the designs were bouquets of flowers copied from magazine photographs. James confessed he liked to do needlepoint on trains. It relaxed him. Rosenthal was astounded. He pledged to keep James in blank canvas and needlepoint yarns for the rest of his life. Over the years, Rosenthal would take many classes from James. He never saw more than a couple of embroidered pillows scattered around the public room off the kitchen. Meanwhile, just one floor up, a private world bloomed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. You know, I have temper. I just started HelloFresh and I'm having temper tantrums, so I can only imagine, but I can't wait to read your book. And that, by the way, I will say one of my big disappointments this year, I mean, last year we had to cancel altogether, so this year's better than last year, but in previous years doing this, I got everybody that read, they were there in person, so they signed my books, and I got like, probably the bookcase behind me is probably half books that were signed by finalists for the Publishing Triangle Awards. Hopefully next year. In the meantime, if any of you want to send me just randomly, you know, sign. I own all your books already. It's okay. It's fine. I'll pretend you signed. Next up is Juli Delgado Lapera, who's a finalist for the Farrar Grumley Award for LGBTQ fiction for their debut novel Fiebre Tropical, which is published by Feminine Press. The Los Angeles Times Book Review says, what Delgado Lapera pulls from that Miami heat in an inimitable voice is a bold, stylistic, and deeply moving examination of generational sadness, deferred desire, and the budding seeds of personal revolution that is entirely their own. Sounds and Colors writes, fresh, funky, and long overdue, stories like Fiebre Tropical are the future of American literature. In a starred review, Publishers Weekly writes, moving and hilarious, this feisty coming-of-age tale introduces a funny, fresh, and indelible new voice. And finally, and this is one of my favorite reviews ever, Dwight Garner, writing in the New York Times, said, you can open this novel anywhere and find sunbeams, the signs of a writer who's grinding their own colors. Welcome, Juli, who is joining us from San Francisco.
Hi, thank you, Rob, for that introduction. Thank you, Greg, and everybody involved in organizing this. It's such a pleasure and honor to be reading among so many wonderful writers, so thank you. All right, everybody, I'm going to read from Fiebre, just from the beginning. Chapter 1. Buenos días, mi reina. Immigrant criolla here reporting desde los Miamis from our ant-infested townhouse. The broken air conditioner above the TV, the flowery couch, La Tata half drunk directing me in this holy radionovela brought to you by Female Sadness Incorporated. That morning, as we unpacked the last of our bags, we found Tata's old radio. So the two of us practiced our latest melodrama in the living room. While on the TV, Don Francisco saluted El Pueblo de Miami, damas y caballeros. And Tata, at her age, to Mami's exasperation and my delight, went girl crazy over his manly voice. Y como quien no quiere la cosa, Mami angrily turned off the stove, where La Tata had left the bacalao frying unattended. Then Lysol sprayed the countertops, smashing the dark trail of ants hussing some pancito for their colony behind the fridge. Girlfriend was pissed. She hadn't come to the US of A to kill ants and smell like puto pescado. And how lovely would it have been if that housekeeper could have joined us on the plane. Then Mommy could leave her to the household duties and concentrate on the execution of this migration project. Pero aló, is she the only person awake en esta berraca casa? On the TV, another commercial for Inglés sin Barreras. And Lucia, La Tata, and I chuckled at the white people teaching brown people how to say, hello, my name is. Hello, I am going to the store. Hello, what is this swamp? Please come rescue us. It was April and hot. Not that the heat dissipated in June or July or August or September or even November for that matter. The heat, I will come to learn the hard way, is a constant in Miami. El calorcito didn't get the impermanence memo, didn't understand how change works. The heat is a stubborn bitch, breathing its humid mouth on your every pore, reminding you this hell is inescapable and in another language. We've been here for months, newly arrived, still saladitas, and I already wanted to go back home to Colombia, return to my Panela land, its mountains, and that constant anxiety that comes just from living in Bogota. That anxiety that I nonetheless understood better than this new terrifying one. But Mommy explained to me over and over again with a smirk that, look around you, Francisca, this is your home now. Our to-do list that doomed Saturday of the aunts and the bacalao, including helping Mommy with the preparations for the celebration of the death or the baptism or the rebirth or the something of her miscarried dead baby, Sebastian. It has been argued by the only people who cared to argue, La Tata and her hermanas, that my dead brother's baptism was the most exciting event in the Martinez Juan family that year. This mainly because La Tata drank half a bottle of rum a day, couldn't tell Monday from Friday. So obviously a fake baby's baptism at a pastor's pool was more important to her than, say, the fact that by the end of the month, my young sister, Lucia, was regularly waking in the middle of the night to pray over me. Or the fact that I would eventually remember this time, the first months after our arrival, as Mommy's most sane, grounded moment. Pero we're getting ahead of ourselves, Cachaco. Primero la primaria. We've been prepping for the baptism celebration even before departing from our apartment on the 3rd floor down in Bogota. Inside the 6 Samsonite bags that Mommy, Lucia, and yours truly were allowed to bring into this new, exciting, think of it as moving up the social ladder life, were black and gold tablecloths, handcrafted invitations, and other various baptism paraphernalia. There wasn't enough space for the box of letters from my friends, our photo albums, but we nonetheless packed 2 jars of holy water, blessed 3 days before by a neighborhood priest. Water that was confiscated for 2 hours by customs. You don't think we got water in the States? Then quickly flushed down the toilet by Tia Milagros, who now, soaking in Jesus's evangelical Christian blessings, believed, like the rest of the Miami matriarchy, that Catholic priests were a bunch of degenerados, buenos para nada. Catholicism is a fake and boring religion. Christianity is a true, exciting path to a blessed life in the name of Jesucristo nuestro Señor. Okay? I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Hule. All right. Tommye Blount is a finalist for the Tom Gunn Award for Gay Poetry for his book Fantasia for the Man in Blue, published by 4 Way Books. In case you missed the story when I posted it on Facebook a week or 2 ago, Tommye tells me that Hugh Wheeler in Stephen Sondheim's musical A Little Night Music, which is, by the way, one of my favorites, not that you asked, but that was part of the inspiration behind the book structure. In the musical, a singing quartet, seemingly without any connection to the main story, pop in and out to sing about their own entangled relationships. Each time the chorus appears, it punctuates and adds tonal nuances to the action happening in the main story. At the center of Fantasia for the Man in Blue is a quartet of poems, Tommye charged with the same task. Each poem in the title sequence strikes a note with which the minor poems create harmony or dissonance. In a starred review, Publishers Weekly weekly called Fantasia for the Man in Blue, magnetic and controlled. Blount memorably and viscerally explores the intersection of power, sexuality, and race. And in ALA book list, Diego Baez wrote, Tommye Blount's lyrics seem to live outside space and time, blending references to history, art, and contemporary concerns into expanding galleries on the page. Please welcome Tommye Blount, who's joining us from Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you, Rob, and the Publishing Triangle, and Greg and the Bureau. It's an honor to be here with this company. Yeah, I'm just gonna read 2 poems. How sweet this great land. The white girl is arrested by joy, or is it hunger? Whatever is there bubbling in her perfect little body, she has been taught to subdue it. Crossed, her arms make an X like a contract signature. Her wrists rest against her skirt's pleats. Almost as if I were Electra Savage and not the co-heir of this moment, my nose brushes the photograph. What must her hands smell like? Not an odd question when I consider the dangers of hunger. Ah, yes, there it is. The scent too loud for even history to shush. Sweet relish, sharp chives, crush of dill, sandwiched under her nails, a sandwich some Black child's mother made. How sweet this great land of nostalgia, when there were fewer houses than there were trees. Safe. She looks as if she might hum. So happy to be in the cool shade of the man swinging from his branch. The Hunger of Luther Vandross. Honey, what would a thinner man know of hunger? I mean to be forever, for always in hunger. When my stomach has had enough, when my body goes quiet, I let my mouth take over. It's a calling, this hunger to sing for a love I'm too ashamed to want for myself. So I practice. The pitch has to be right to sing the hunger of other lovers, a take on a take, a rendition no one has heard before. With this voice, I wed the lives of others. A hunger to set the mood. I make them turn the lights off, turn them on. A gift, this first instrument of hunger, this tenor. I can feel it in my body, all 300 pounds of me. You're never lonely when you're a man who knows hunger like I do, as big as 2 men holding on so tight that you would think there is only one. There are 2 of me, both of us hungry for the stage. Look at how the spotlight searches for me. It can't keep up. They chant my name, want more of me. Who am I to let them starve? Thank you.
I don't know if you're looking in the chat at all, but I'm absolutely thrilled to watch. It's not uncommon, of course, but it's thrilled to see it play out, writers supporting other writers. Love it. Now it's time for an audiovisual break. Sophie Yanow is about to join us from Marin County, California, with a special presentation from her graphic novel, The Contradictions. That book's a finalist for the Edmund White Award for debut fiction and was published by Drawn and Quarterly. Our Edmund White Award judges said of The Contradictions, Sometimes nothing is happening and yet everything is happening. The author's touch is light, but absolutely sure. Yanow captures perfectly the ambivalence, alienation, and malaise of queer youth, as well as the flatness of the world they see. Yet she does all this through affecting, witty details. No less than the legendary Alison Bechdel says, The Contradictions is a masterpiece. Sophie Yanow's tale of hitchhike around Europe under the spell of a sulky, fixie-riding anarchist is a pitch-perfect portrait of youthful disillusionment and self-discovery. And NPR adds, The Contradictions isn't just an engaging read, it's a warming and affirming one. And now, my pleasure to present Sophie Yanow.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Greg. And thanks to all the other readers tonight. Everyone is amazing. And yeah, I'm very honored to be here. I will just pull up my screen here. All right, here we go. No one smiles here except tourists. Don't be a tourist. I need to buy some black clothes. One student, s'il vous plaît. In the time after the psychedelics and the critical theory and the breakup, I had dropped most of my classes. In a daze, I had walked to the study abroad office and asked for any option without a language requirement. Rip, pluck, flop. Paris seemed far enough away. Sketch, sketch. My parents were adventurous lefties who had raised me on their stories of travel and late 60s political unrest. Tuck. Here I was, age 20, and so far I felt I had few stories worth telling. I'd always been too nervous for risky behavior, with the exception of some thoroughly researched drug use, and too wishy-washy to stick it to the man. But now I was abroad. If something was going to change, surely this was the place for it. Hey, Mom, can you call me back so I can save minutes? Bzz, bzz. I wish I brought my bike. No, I do like the metro, except nobody smiles. When I get home, I literally have like a layer of dirt on my skin just from walking around. It's kind of gross. I'm reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance and the Dharma Bums. It's like the universe is trying to tell me something about travel and self-discovery. Did you hitchhike in Germany or only later? Nah, I haven't seen her yet. I kind of want to do my own thing. I should go. Orientation is tonight. Love you. Bye. Welcome. Here for orientation? Yeah, it's Yanow, Y-A-N. Okay, here you are. You're all set. The reception is upstairs. How do I hold this? With the stem? What are other people doing? Hey, Sophie. Bex. How are you supposed to hold a red wine glass? I'm not sure. Hey, but this is pretty groovy though, free wine. Well, technically we paid for it. It's so funny to drink legally here. I never drink at home. You meet anyone cool? Some nice Californians. Everyone here seems like such normies. How's your host family? They're super old. I'm just with one lady. She's a practicing Catholic. I don't think I'm gonna tell her I'm gay. Ah, that sucks. Ding, ding, ding. I think it's group time. Okay, see ya. I've been here 2 years and I barely speak a word of French. You don't need it at all. I'm international business relations. You? Communications. How about you, Sophie? I'm studio art. Paris must be so exciting for an artist. What do we got? Drinks are so expensive. I could just go and get on the metro. Oh my gosh, the trees with the little lights. It's too bad we missed Christmas in Paris. God, why did I leave my bike at home? Okay, let's get another round. I think I'm gonna head out, guys. Really nice to meet you all. Bye, see you at school. As a result of feeling other often in my life, I, like so many others, have learned some important semiotic shortcuts for making friends. Whoa. Bike. Special bike. Fix gear. I heard there weren't any fixies in Paris yet. So fixie means bike geek. Wait, bike geek might mean punk. And punk might mean queer. Hey! Nice bike. Thanks.
Delightful, Sophie, thanks. And I mispronounced your name, sorry, Yano, short A. I'm from upstate New York. We don't really have short A's in our vocabularies, so, you know. Our final reader for the night and our final reader for the 2021 reading series, for that matter, is Francine J Harris, whose book, Here is the Sweet Hand, is a finalist for the Audre Lorde Award for Lesbian Poetry. Her book was published by FSG, and tonight she's joining us from Houston, Texas. NPR says, with her extraordinary third book, Harris fully emerges as one of the best and most relevant contemporary poets. She writes with a historical and linguistic reach. She is also in league with some of the great practitioners of poetry that makes no distinction between the personal and the political, such as Gwendolyn Brooks, Robert Hayden, and Adrienne Rich. In a starred review, Publishers Weekly, and there's a lot of starred review amongst all of you, congratulations. But Publishers Weekly writes, with poems that pant, keen, and rumble, Harris offers a fresh and dazzling third collection. The poet's subjects are difficult and necessary. These are poems of solitude and full-throated coupling, of non-human and extraterrestrial phenomena. But no list of topics or themes can capture the erotic heat, imaginative breath, and syntactical daring of this poet's voice. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our final reader, Francine J Harris. Francine.
Thank you, Rob. And thank you so much, Publishing Triangle, for this honor. It's so nice to be able to see some of you that I've chatted with over the years, and to be with so many writers that I love and whose work I admire so much. I'm elated to be with you. And I thought I would read, and I guess close out. I didn't know that I was doing that, but it makes sense, because I was thinking I'd read a couple love poems. I cleaned the house. I moved the bookshelf from the radiator. I put my brown things in boxes. I threw away the cardboard. I scrubbed the stove and dried it with a black towel. There is no more fray coming from under the area rug. Broke a glass while doing it and swept the glass and wiped the glass. I wiped the glass and I looked for glass stray in the break of the wood flooring. Moved the couch and tried to find the glass heating its way into a wedge. I imagined the foot on glass at some worse time, a phone interview, a lovemaking, a day of the flu. I took a magnifying glass to the glass. I thought there were strands of slivering into a splinter so thin you couldn't see. I imagined the glass elongating. I imagined the glass cooling too quickly and snap. I threw away the glove I used to look for the glass and I wiped my knee with a white towel. I shook the towel over the trash and wiped the floor where I shook the towel and washed the towel and then washed the sink where the towel stank. A woman came home and said she was moving out. I put that dinner on a plate and slid it beneath the glass bowl covering a salad on the second shelf, which upon its second once over with a fork has lost its verdant leaf. In the bowl through the glass, it's all trunk. The beet is sparse. The avocado's soggy and browning. Lettuce stalk is bitter and watery and hard. In that distortion, I found a sharp tongue, and I knew I would stab it. And I knew it would be so only delicious to me. Limulus polyphemus, which is the Latin for horseshoe crab. Epigraph, who you looking at? Fred Moten. In class, I stared because of the blood going blue, the chalk that coated our fingerly teeth, the way we lapped each other on the shore where the flowering. I gave away our location, smacked my lips in the coat closet, sucked at her teeth. We, on all eights, we had magical innards, coagulated ground germ. We stood in the torture lights. Sandy liked to say in those moments, "What the fuck you looking at?" In a rasp, her smooth neck of coal coast, in the shells they brought in, her, whose voice I can still hear. We sat still at that, in carapace and bookgill, the UV light on her face and my face. We dodge at first, then the stainless plunge. I'm over here, wanting you, sense in me, the medicinal leak, the thick abating. If they are bacteria so coalesce, the beginning world is in you, the old story. Did I ever get the pleasure of your fist? Did you kick at me custodially, knock around a bean in my skull? So rattle, rattler, mimic the scorpion, head caved in, rolling to a crab heart squint. Or was it mouth spray, cover story? Whatever we bled out was given to white men for research before they kicked us back to sea. Half faint, half apocalypse, beauty blue. It was hideous what we gnarled into house under our hard shell, stabbed at and raked over. I was nothing but eyes, a million ommatidia, plus a pair of median desires to sense out, to see. If we could fuck in the open, on the wide open shore, black sand, would I be the dead woman whose back she clung to? Thank you.
Thank you, Francine. Perfect way to close out this program. I'd like to, before we finish, also note the presence tonight of Julie Marie Wade, Esbrook Korfman, who I think might have logged off, but I'm not sure, and Jameson Fitzpatrick, who read last night, and our finalists. For the 8 readers tonight and the 9 last night, I'd like to ask everyone if they could unmute for one moment, just to give real applause to them for fantastic programming. Okay, now you can mute again. It's not the same, I know, but look, 29 books and 30 individuals are nominated for the competitive awards tomorrow. 17 of them read for us between last night and tonight. Tomorrow at noon, roughly, we'll find out that 7 of those 30 people, 7 of those 17 readers will be winners of our awards. But again, as I said earlier, everyone is a winner here. This is, and I'm not meaning that facetiously, this is the Publishing Triangle Awards. If you're a finalist here, you've just won. So, you know, that is amazing. So that's tonight's reading. I want to again thank Greg and Donnie and the Bureau of General Services for once again being the best hosts, and encourage you all, well, to become members of the Publishing Triangle, buy queer books, and join us tomorrow, starting roughly around noon on our website, Twitter, and Facebook, as we roll out the winners of the awards. But again, remember, you already won. So thank you all. You won't get a check, but you already won. But thank you all. And I'll turn it back over to Greg, and thank you for a great series, Greg.
Thank you so much, Rob. I hope next year we'll be in person, but this was really great. A close second. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This was really special, even though I'm sitting in my bed in my bedroom another day in the pandemic. It's really nice to be with you all. And I can't wait to be in the same room with you all again. So have a lovely night. We've got a ton of great events coming up. Please check out our website, and I hope I'll see you real soon. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Be well.
Be well, be well, be well.
You're all
Bye,
great.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Good night.